Now, on page 63, position shapes with rulers and guides. We are going to go to File and New once again. Then it says double click the basic diagram thumbnail once again. So double click on basic diagram thumbnail. And we are going to save it as shape alignment. Remember that you'll put your last name, first initial in there first. So File, Save As, navigate to where you are saving everything. And you're going to do last name, first initial, underscore, and call it shape alignment. And for me, I have to stick a 1 at the end. Notice you do not have to do or type the .vsdx extension, the file extension. Visio does it for you, so do not type the period or anything after that. Just type your last name, first initial, and the name of the file. Hit save. Now, on page 63, we're going to use our rulers and guides, which I'm going to show you. Guides, cool. And to set this up. So, the first thing we want to do is drag a rectangle. So grab our rectangle and we're going to move it, it says on the page, about 1/4 of the way down the page. So notice over here on the left hand side, I don't know if you can see it, but do you see how you can see the hash lines moving? Okay, so if this is an 8-inch tall page, then you want to do about half of that is like 4, so half of that is about 2. So I'm going to put this about here, which is like 5 inches, 5.5, 6.5. Now, nothing is permanent. You can always move it, and it is okay whatever you have done, because once again, I am grading it, not mind tapping. As long as it looks like the book to me, you're good. So we are going to resize the handle so all the way to the right end. So just like in Word, do you see the sizing handles? So come to the center, and over the sizing handle, we get the double arrow. Remember, 4 arrows moves. Double arrow over the handle resizes. So click and resize till it goes all the way to the right. And we know it's on the right because we have the green grid. And the same thing over here, when we placed it, we had the green grid, so we could tell that it was on where we want it to be. Now, from the basic shapes, drag a 5-point star. So slide down your basic shapes, and here is a 5-point star, and it says drop it above the left half of the rectangle. So we're going to come up here and the left side, and we're just going to drop it there. All right. Now, we want to add another one. So we're going to try to drag another one and put it right below. So check this out. When we drag it, the two can't see each other. So you can't use your dynamic grid. So because this rectangle is in the way. If they were here, we could. Here we can't. So in order to make them line up, just drop it for now. In order to make them line up, we are going to grab and drag a dynamic grid line so that it shows exactly where they stop, and we can make them stick together. So we want to position our cursor. So we're going to take, and I'm on number 5, page 64. Position the cursor over the vertical ruler on the left side of the page and see how it turns to a double arrow. All right. And then you're going to click on the ruler with your left mouse button and drag this line to the center of the page. Notice it is an 11-inch page, so half of that is 5.5. So you can see how it lines up, and then drop it. Okay, so now we have dropped that, and I'm exactly in the center. So it's going to be easy for me to drag my star and line it up. Now it wants us to glue the edges and center the star shape to the guide. So first we're going to do the edge. So as we click with our left mouse button, and I'll show you, the glue is kind of cool. As you slide up to that line, and now, did you see that green? That green, and see it says glue, is going to glue to our guide. So I can do this, and now I'm going to grab my star and drag it, slow down, and when that little green square, I'll let go. Now what's cool is, wherever I move that guide, my stars go with me. Nifty? Okay, so let's set it back to 5.5. Now it decides that it wants us to glue the center of the star to the guide. So we want to drag the bottom star and glue its center to the guide. So click on it, hold it, and now more, and do you see centers? 3 green squares, and hopefully they are lined up. And no, so sometimes you gotta kind of play with it. So oh, there it went. So slide right, and there we go, center. So now instead of the 3 green squares, we have 1 green hollow square, and it says glue to guide. So now when we grab it, drag it, voila, it sticks with us, and we have the center lined up. Now I'm looking at the picture, and I think it wants the top one centered also. So we're going to click with our left mouse button, grab it and drag it until we have the hollow. There we go. Can you see it? My move arrows are right over, but it says glue to guide, so I know I'm on it. So I can let go, and they should both be lined up perfectly, and I can move them all I want. Kind of awesome, correct? Hit save. And then we're going to use the zoom slider down here and zoom to 100%, and voila. And if you don't like grabbing and dragging, you can always click on this and choose 100%. Alright, looks like it's time to back up. Okay, so now we're going to drag an octagon shape to the upper left corner. So octagon shape, click and drag to the upper left corner, and now do you see your dynamic grids all over the place depending on what you want to do with it, and it doesn't really say. So for me, I like middles lining up, and it's kind of strange to have that sitting there, and it really doesn't say exactly what it wants you to do with it, so we're just going to leave it alone, and we are going to save, and we are going to close. So the small X, this also will be uploaded to Blackboard. So for Visio, y'all will have a lot of stuff to upload to Blackboard. I know you're so excited. So on page 67. So now this is kind of cool because it shows you how you can control and resize also shapes. So we need to open up size and position start. So navigate to your Chapter 2 Visio files, and we want to find size and position start. And you will save this as size and position with your name in front. So open, and then file save as size and position with your name in front, underscore, and get rid of the start at the end. So size and position, and hit save. Double check your title bar so that you know that it happened. And then on page 67, number 1, click on the first object. Now if you click once, you don't want to double click, just click one time, and you notice that you have your sizing handles here. And if we grab the middle sizing handle, notice that as we go, you can see the other objects. So you see that C, D, and E are all the same size as this right here. And when we go a little more, now you see it's the same size as B. So it changes as you go. And when we want it to get done, we are going to drag A until it's the same width as shape B. And then we'll drag it till it's wider than B or C. So now you should have no arrows. And then let go. And now you want to drag the upper right handle of shape A. So you come up to the right hand corner click and drag up, and notice that it gets bigger and bigger in proportion. So it's getting the same, it's getting bigger by the same increment all the way around. Now let go and then click once on shape B. Now try to drag your sizing handles, and notice that it only gets bigger going to the right. So what happened is they have locked this. With shape B still selected, you can grab this turn handle and you can turn it any way you want. And so this works just like the turn in Microsoft, the other Microsoft Office. So like Word, we did that a lot with Word and with PowerPoint. That is called the rotation handle. So we want to turn it approximately 90 degrees. So we're going to turn it so it's standing on end like this. And on page 70, we're going to click once on shape C. Now notice when we try to rotate this, it won't let us. So the designer has locked those properties so that it can't be turned. So if you're creating something and there is something that has to be an exact way it is and it can't change, you can lock that particular property so other people won't change it. Now click on shape D one time. And we're going to drag the yellow handle. Do you see that yellow piece right there? So we're going to drag that yellow handle and see how that yellow box is following me. We're going to drag it out. So now the red is gone. If I drag this yellow handle back, see, now it's there. So we can make it wider or smaller, wider or smaller, or non-existent. All I have to do is grab that yellow thing. Okay? Pretty cool. Now, that is a sub-process shape. Now, click once on the shape E. I'm on page 71 in the book. On the View tab, click on View, and in the Show Group, so Show Group, you want to choose the task panes and then click Size and Position. So click on Task Panes and Size and Position. This is super duper important. You'll run into it a lot. This is the quickest place to find it. So click on Size and Position. Now notice down here at the bottom, we got our size and position. You can change the size by changing the number here or here, and the width, and the height, and the angle, and the center. Now let's change the width of this E to 2 inches. So just type a 2 there and watch how E changes when I hit enter. Okay, so it changed the width to 2 inches wide. And so now on page 73, number 15, if you click in the Y cell, so click in Y, and now we're going to change this to 4 and hit enter. Notice how it moves the whole object straight up to 4. And the pin position, so that's how it turns. Right now, it's turning as if the pin was in the center. Check this out, pin in the center. All right, so if we change it to center left, so center center to center left. Okay, now notice the handle is over here on the left, and you can turn it, and now it's like there's a pin over here on the left hand side. Pretty cool, correct? All right, then we are on page 75, and we are going to close it and save it. So even though the book doesn't say to save, you must save. So save. Always save, always save, always save. And let's go ahead and close it. Oh, and just real quick before you close, I wanted to show you one thing. So remember how all these different things had locked positions? So to do that, remember if we took the C, we couldn't turn it. If we took the B, we couldn't make it taller. We could only make it longer. So to lock a specific piece, if you go to Developer and then choose Protection, and here you can check whatever it is that you want to protect to keep people from changing. So the book never tells you that. So there you go, something free. Alrighty, so let's save and close that. Okay, so next, looking on page 75, connecting shapes with lines. So this is like super duper easy and kind of fun. If you look at number 1 where it says setup, we need to get basic shapes B. So file, open, go to your chapter 2, and you want basic shapes B start, and open. Then choose file, save as, and make sure you're in your chapter 2, and we are going to call this last name, first initial underscore, and we are calling this connecting shapes. Okay, now normally I don't put a space in there, well, because if you ever post anything on the internet, it kind of confuses, it makes a mess. So last name, first initial, underscore, connecting shapes 1, and then save. So here's a bunch of shapes that aren't very pretty right now, but you're going to do some cool stuff. So go to home, and I'm on page 75 at the bottom, and in the tools group here, we're going to choose the line tool. Now I'm just saying, there's lots of ways to do this, and this is not the easiest, but we're going to learn it because it might be good for you. On page 76, number 2, you want to point close to any of these shapes. So I'm going to do close to this rectangle, and notice, remember that glue point that we had earlier? So that looks like that glue point square, doesn't it? So this is called a connection square, and it is a glue point, exactly what it looks like. And we want to grab this and drag it over to our circle. So now you see a square on our circle. And notice you have on the left hand side right here, you can tell it started because it has a dark green glue point. And here you can tell this is where it connected because it has a white circle. So you know this glued to this right here. Now, it wants us to draw with this shape. We are just going to draw a line. So we're drawing a line, and then we're going to let go, and that's all it is. All right. Now, you can tell the white square is where it started, and the dark square is where it ends. Now, we can also use a line tool to go from the center, see glue point, from the center to our rectangle. Now, this rectangle, notice there are no glue points. So we're just going to point it to the center. Okay? Now, when you do this, it's not going to glue. Notice that there's no glue point. And here you have your dark, but no glue point because this rectangle had no glue points. So next thing you want to do is slide up your tools and click on pointer tool. Okay, so now it gets rid of our shape, and we can move stuff around. So we can grab our circle, move it up, and since it's glued, just like when we did the stars earlier, it moves with us. So it stays connected, and we're going to use this later, like in the last 3 weeks. We're going to move some stuff around like that. Also notice that, and I'm going to go ahead and leave it up, notice that if we grab this rectangle, it leaves this line altogether because it is not glued. So you have to be very careful, and in this case you could not glue it anyhow. Now let's grab our freeform tool. This is kind of fun. So click on the down arrow where it shows you the last thing you used. So slide down to our freeform. So we're in tools, and what now was the line shape, we're going to slide down to freeform. Now freeform is cool. Notice we have the glue point of our circle, and we're going to go to the glue point of our square. But we're going to make it kind of fun, do crazy stuff because it is a freeform. Now, when we come to here, we're just going to get over it, and it won't show your green square. But let go, and now do you see the solid green circle, the starting point? and the white circle with the green inside as the ending point. So it did connect, even though it wasn't even though it wasn't evident that it was connecting. So if we grab our pointer tool again and click here and grab this and drag it, it follows us around. Pretty cool. I don't know why you would need that, but you know, some of you creative people might find something cool to do with that. Okay, and let me glue it there so we don't have the 2 pages. Alright, so we're going to save, and this time we are leaving it open. On page 80, we are going to connect shapes with dynamic connectors. Now this is good. I like doing this way. So with our connecting shapes, we are going to click on the page 2 tab. So go down here, remember page 2, click here and let go, and so here we have everything. So now on the home tab, tools group, and our connector, click here. Now notice that we can connect the whole square or individual handles. So if we wanted to connect without our line that we used earlier, this is called a static connection. So now we're going to click and drag and drop it. And once again, we have our solid and our white. Okay, so we are static glue between. Now, let us try to draw our line here like we did earlier. And notice that it's not going to have, it has this little points here. And once again, start and stop. But it looks different because even though the long rectangle doesn't contain any connection points, you can still glue the dynamics. So watch this, check this. So we're going to click here, slide down and check. Now do you see the green part all the way around? So now it's connected. Okay, so what we did, we're using a connector tool, and even though we don't have the individual handles, we could glue it to the entire shape. Alright, so now we want to point to the center point of the octagon, and we are going to grab this and drag it to the top of our, and make sure it's the handle and not just this way is the shape, this way is the handle, and in the book they want the shape, the handle. So let go and voila. Now this looks kind of strange because of what we have right here, and what happens is we both went out from the middle. So you can come back to your pointer tool, click on this and select that and hit delete on your keyboard, and voila, it's gone. And go back to our connector, and this time we want to start from this top right hand corner and drag it straight across, and not the whole shape but just the connector. Cool. So nothing is ever forever. You can change it. If it's not what you want, you can always change it. You're not stuck. So go back to your pointer tool, and once again you can see that if you grab and drag, it follows you around. And now this one does too. And here also. So they all can move around and do whatever you want them to do. Awesome. And we are going to save this and close it. So 2 different ways to connect. And on page 86, we are going to use auto connect, which is way cooler. So do file, and we want to do new, and then click our category. So featured in categories, click right here, and from there we're going to choose a flowchart. So come over here, click 1 time. Now double click basic flowchart, and voila, we now have our basic flowchart shapes, and we are going to save it as your last name first initial quick draw. So do file, save as, and chapter 2, and we're last name first initial quick draw, and save. Now this is the best way ever. So we're going to drag a process shape onto the page. And we're going to drag a start end shape on the page. So I got a little bit too close, but it's no big deal. Slide it, and life is grand. Okay? And then we're going to drag on a decision. And notice we're lined up. And then we are going to drag on another process. Cool. And then 2 more processes down here, underneath here. And that's closer than it is the book, so I'm going to move it down. And another one here. Okay? Now, notice that whenever we point to a shape, you see those blue arrows? If you just slide over it and sit there for a second, okay, it doesn't happen immediately. You got to give it a second. So once you get those arrows, now you can slide over to that arrow and voila, you can let it connect. See that arrow? Click. So here, I got my arrow, slide to the arrow, and wait, and arrow. Click. Cool? Now this one, we want it to go down instead of across. So we're going to slide down to that blue arrow and click. This that's shown up here, we can draw shapes also, which is very cool. Okay? And is that it? Those are called auto connects. Okay? Now, we want to connect. I'm on page 88, number 6. We're going to click on our decision shape here, and we want to go until we see our auto connect arrows, and then we're going to grab it and drag down to, so not where it wanted to go, but down to here. So you still have control. You don't just have to go to the left or the right. You can go diagonally if you choose. Now, click on click to the right of page 1, and we are going to click on the insert page, and now we've added page 2. Now drag another start end shape onto page 2. Upper left corner. So we're going to drag it up here. Now, this is like super duper cool. I know, each one's cool. So as I slide over, now we have these shapes, and whatever I choose, it will change to whatever shape that's on here. And we want to choose the top one. So click. Awesome. And then we're going to slide over here, and we are going to choose the second one. Okay, and then let's slide over here, and we can choose this one. So you can see all of these different shapes that you can choose. Now hit Control Z 1, 2 times. Now instead of just clicking around, we're going to have a purpose. Look on page 90, and you want to click on this shape here, slide over, and this time we're going to choose the diamond. But from the diamond, we're going to go down and choose the square, the process shape. Now, we can grab this process shape from the stencil. So over here, grab this process shape and drag it over here. We can still line it up. And we can also still grab this process shape and drag it up here and line it up. And we can still come here, grab this, and drag it down and connect. Cool? So, save this and leave it open.